Hello and welcome to National Letter of Intent Day here at San Jose State University, presented by Nissan. The press conference this afternoon will welcome in 11 new signees to San Jose State University, in addition to the 13 already signed back in December. Now, all the bio information and video is available on the website, sjsuspartans.com/signing day. And a couple of notes to pass along before we bring on head coach Brent Brennan. There will be a celebration tonight inside the Student Union Ballroom on campus. Signing day celebration should be a lot of fun. Former players, former NFL players like coming to the event tonight. It's at 7 o'clock, and there are some late options for you if you want to try and get down there. Contact Tim Rice at tim.rice@sjsu.edu. You can get all the information from him, and there is some on the website as well. But we'd love to see you out at the Student Union Ballroom this evening at 7 o'clock. But let's get right to it with San Jose State head coach Brent Brennan.
Hello. I'm really excited about tonight. There's going to be an incredible event. This celebration of this recruiting class has been a lot of hard work from a lot of different people. Obviously Tim Rice, but also our Director of Football Operations, Ben Thenis, and all kinds of people in campus advancement, and then people on upper campus that have just worked really hard to put on a first-class event to kind of bring, Spartan Nation together, our football alumni, our fans, and our coaching staff, and celebrate what we think is a really big day for us. This class is going to be a group of guys that we are all going to be excited that will do a great job representing San Jose State University. It's a great mix and match of big and little and fast and everything else. And so we feel like we addressed a lot of needs that we had, with graduation and from last year's team, and also, trying to build it the right way. So, when you're trying to do things the right way, it takes a little longer, but we're really confident with the people that we're bringing into San Jose State. And I got to commend our assistant coaches, compliance, academics, everybody that had a part in us putting this class together and, getting them to the finish line. So we're really excited about adding these young men to our football family, and we can't wait to get started. So what do you got?
Coach, from a recruiting standpoint, last year it seemed like you were just kind of thrown into the fire. Didn't have much time to go out and, recruit yourself. But I would imagine this year the sense of urgency is still there. But what's the biggest difference between last year and this season in terms of recruiting?
I think, last year was such a whirlwind with me getting hired in December and then hiring a staff not until, the first week in January or the 9th or 10th of January. So we just had a really short window to recruit kids. So it was a small, in that time frame, I felt like you didn't have as much time to be as thorough in the evaluation process. You didn't have as much time to build a relationship with the players and their families. Obviously, a lot of those guys we brought in a year ago played meaningful football for us last fall. So I still felt good about those guys, and I still do. I'm glad they're here. But this time, it gave us a chance to go through a whole cycle, which is, kind of spring recruiting, the camp circuit, fall evaluation, and then, a full December and January for the recruiting process. So I just think it was a lot more thorough, a lot more detailed, and I think we got some kids or some players coming in here that we're going to be really, really excited about.
Coach, quite a lot of Northern California Bay Area guys that you guys were able to bring
all right.
in. What was that process like, just being able to shield the Bay?
Yeah, well, that's been a big thing. I think when we came back here, especially for me, having been here before, I think knowing how important it was to recruit the Bay Area and, try and kind of increase kind of our footprint on the Bay. I think sometimes when people talk about San Jose State and us recruiting the Bay Area, they think specifically of the South Bay, right? But the Bay Area is a lot bigger than that. And so we were able to stretch, up into the, East Bay and the peninsula and then also the South Bay. So we feel really good about that. I think it's always going to be a major point of emphasis to recruit local players, to have a presence here for those high school coaches to know us, to have a relationship with us, And and as we bring those kids into our program, or those players into our program, obviously, hopefully that gets more people locally excited about what we're doing here, because it gives them a chance to watch the hometown players play.
What are your expectations going into the season? I mean,
That's a big question on signing day.
Okay.
My expectations going into the season, I would say, give me a couple months, let me get through spring ball and get a little bit of evaluation of where we're at, how we've developed in the off season, how the junior college players that we added at mid-year help us, how they fit into what we're doing. But my expectations for the season are probably about 5 months away from me making that kind of statement.
Coach, we have one member on the phone, Mike Lefkow from the Bay Area News Group. Mike, one question for Coach.
Hang on here one sec. Go ahead with another question. I'll get to you in a sec.
All right, he's going to come back to us.
Coach, you play in a conference that traditionally has, been known for, very, very, really good rushers. Last season led by, true freshman Tyler Nevins. This season, you're bringing in as a signee Kyrie Robinson and Lorenzo Burks. What are your thoughts on them, and where do you think they could fit?
Well, I think at all of our offensive skill positions, my thought process or our staff's thought process on that is whether it's at running back or receiver, you don't want everybody to be the same. Right, different types of bodies, different types of skill sets give you a chance to attack defenses differently. Obviously, with Kyrie, you have a guy who's got great speed and quickness. He does have power to break tackles, but he's a guy that you want to get the ball in space and let him do what he does, which is score touchdowns and run for yards. Lorenzo's a little bit different, right? Lorenzo is a big body, was a two-way guy before he had his injury. We had Lorenzo in camp last June, and he looked great running around, and he was making people miss, and he was catching the ball in the backfield, and he was a big, 6'1", 230-pound kid that could run and change direction and catch the football. And so we're excited about the future with both those guys, and obviously adding them to a position group here that we already feel really strongly about. Not just Tyler, we feel good about Malik, and we feel good about Zig, and we feel good about Brandon Monroe. I mean, there's lots of guys in that room we feel strongly about. Packer.
Apologies for not introducing myself the first time, Mohamed Bafaki. Two guys that you mentioned.
We know who you are. It's all right.
One of them brings speed. The other one brings. You mentioned he's a big body, and I think that was something that you wanted to address late last season. Was we need guys to be bigger, faster, stronger. Did you feel like you got all those three taken care of?
Well, I think so. Time will tell. It's kind of on signing day, everyone feels good. Hope springs eternal. Like my old boss used to say, all these recruits come highly recommended. But between those two guys, I think we're bringing in two young players at a position where a year from now we're going to also be old, right? You're going to have Malik is going to be a senior. You have Packer's going to be a senior. Brandon Monroe is going to be a senior. So we needed some young talent at that position. Now, if those guys are good enough, they'll play. That's just the way it always is, right? The beautiful thing about football is the best players play. But I think we definitely are bringing in two different deals. You definitely, in this conference, if you're going to win games late in the season, you need to run the ball. And so I'm hopeful both those guys can do that for us.
Coach, we're going to go back to the phones. Mike, you may fire if ready.
One thing I was going to ask, Coach, is I noticed in the first signing period you signed 13 players. In this signing period, it looks like you have 11. Our group of five program, are they going to be relying more on the later signing period to get their players? Because you had a pretty good group of 3 stars in here. And like I say, it was 11 players, so almost half your class. So is that going to be something we're going to see in the group of 5 teams kind of maybe waiting a little bit longer than the Power 5 group?
That's a good question, and I don't think anyone really knows. This is the first year we've ever had this, the early signing period for football for high school players. So I think it's going to depend on if we had, 25 guys that we felt great about at the time and they were ready to sign, then that would have been great. That would have been fine with us. I think it just depends on the players that you're recruiting and how kind of their feeling about their recruiting process. Lots of the kids that we signed today were on official visits before Christmas. They all technically could have signed early, but they were still going through the recruiting process. They were still getting to know us. We were still getting to know them, all those kind of things. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that continues to go with, with Power 5, Group of 5, kind of how it shakes out. I think it's, every school is going to be different in terms of where they're at, with each player in their recruiting timeline.
Coach, 2 sets of teammates in this recruiting class. Is that something that enters into the recruiting strategy at all when talking to these players and going through the recruitment period?
I think it can if they're good enough, if they meet whatever you're looking for to fit your program. Obviously that happened with the kids from St. Mary's and the kids from Charter Oak, but that kind of ebbs and flows, I think both those programs were fortunate enough to have multiple kids sign scholarships today, and obviously they fit for us. But sometimes that works to your advantage, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes high school kids or players don't want to be on the same team as the guy that they shared the spotlight with. One guy, they don't want to keep doing that. So I've seen that go both ways. I've seen guys come as kind of a package deal and want to be together and want to take the next step together. And then I've seen guys want to get away from each other. So these 2 things happen to complement each other.
Hi, Coach. A couple of those teammates that you mentioned are from St. Mary's, and one looks like a pretty dynamic 2-way player in Trey Jenkins, and the other is a big offensive lineman. Can you talk about the 2 St. Mary's Rams that you signed?
Yeah. Tony Franks, head coach there, does a great job, has for a really long time. We like the idea of getting a player or getting players from a program that has history of winning. And the Trey is going to play safety for us. And what we saw we love the fact that he plays multiple sports. We love the fact that he plays, they hand him the ball, they throw him the ball, he returns kicks, he returns punts. And he also, he'll knock you down if you run through the middle while he's playing safety. So we just like that kind of athleticism and, kind of the, toughness and physicality he plays with. And then with Max, Max has really been an exciting thing for us. We were really fortunate in the first signing period to sign 4 offensive linemen, which is hard to do anyway. I think the staff, Coach Bernardi, everybody really collaborated and did a great job getting that done. And how our numbers work out, we felt like we still needed to add 1 more because we graduated 4 seniors last year. And so Max, we had, Coach Bojay Filimuatu recruits that area for us, and he had been he'd been recruiting Trey, and so that always gave him a chance to kind of keep in contact with Max, and so he just stayed after it, and then all of a sudden we got him on a trip, and for Max, he's a really high caliber student. He's interested in computer engineering. I'm like, where else are you going to go for that? This is the perfect place for, if you're into tech and you're into computers, why wouldn't you come to San Jose State? I mean, Silicon Valley's right here. So that was kind of the angle with them. But Max is a really big athletic kid. His tape is really good. Comes from a great family. Dad's a cherry farmer and mom's a teacher. We have some incredible visits that we did with them. Coach Bernardi, sitting in a 3rd grade classroom. I mean, there's some awesome stuff in terms of getting him here.
Alex Martinet, SJSU Daily. With the addition of Jamie Navarro, was improving the offensive line something you were, looking to do through recruits?
Absolutely. Actually, Jaime Navarro, Great Oak High School, he was part of that early signing period when we signed 4 players, and that was, when you're building a football program, you're always trying to get some balance in your depth in terms of who you think is a quality player and who you think, we graduated, we need to fill spots there, and we need enough people so that we can play. And at that offensive line position, we graduated 4 guys in last year's class, all really good players, really good people. And so we knew we needed to add, some big bodies to our program. And, you win up front, and offensive and defensive linemen are always hard to find. It's always a premium, especially in the state of California. And so, I thought, like I mentioned earlier, Coach Bernardi did a great job identifying those guys and recruiting all of them really hard. And Jaime, like, you guys are going to love Jaime. Like, wait till you meet him. He's like this big personality, the day I went to school, he was wearing jeans and like a flannel and cowboy boots. You walk around campus with him, everyone knows who he is. He's got this long hair. He's this big, happy guy. So I think he's going to be a lot of fun. You guys, the media is going to really enjoy getting to know Jaime.
Coach, back to the phone once more. Mike, another question for Coach?
No, go ahead.
Coach, obviously Frank Ginda now gone. You had a couple of linebackers, very well spoken of, and where do you feel in general about your linebacker core right now, and obviously Coach Bojay, right there in the mix of things. What are your thoughts on just your linebackers?
Well, I think today we did a really good job adding really high-quality players to that position. Obviously, Bojay does a great job coaching them. They're one of the most productive units on our team a year ago. Losing Frank, we're happy for Frank, right? Frank has this NFL dream. Go get it, And so we really support Frank in his decision and what he wants to do. And no one wants to see Frank make it more than we do. But with the guys that we're bringing in this class, I think you have a really good mix of inside and outside linebacker type bodies. We're really excited about all of them. Every guy had multiple offers. It's a good mix of Northern California kids and Southern California kids, and so we have a great, great group and a great vibe brewing in that linebacker room, and I'm excited to see them run out on the field in the fall.
Staying on the topic of regions with California, but just on the West Coast in general, whether it's the Mountain West or the Pac-12, and during your time at Oregon State, there was definitely a Polynesian presence there. It seems like you guys kind of stressed that this recruiting class. Can you talk about that, just bringing in some of these Polynesian players here to San Jose State?
I think when you coach on the West Coast, you just have a lot of experience to that culture and kind of that demographic. And every stop I've been, I've worked with several coaches of Polynesian descent, and there's a unique aspect of family to that culture, and we saw that in our home visits. We had home visits with like 20 people last week. It was just really a powerful thing to see how close they are and how much they value the opportunity and how much they respect what we are there talking to their young men about. When we got here, that was a population of our team that I wanted to increase, just because I felt like that was such a important niche to the good football teams I've been a part of ever since I've been coaching. It doesn't matter if it was here or Cal Poly or Oregon State. We had a really big contingent, of Tongan, Samoan players, or Hawaiian players, and so with Coach Bojay and Coach Sayamalo here, that was just a natural for us to get into that population, into that culture of kids, and we're really excited about the guys that are coming. You guys know Coach Sayamalo's son won the Super Bowl this weekend? That's pretty cool, right? Yeah.
Besides recruiting in California or on the West Coast, did you try recruiting in Texas or on the East Coast?
We technically don't do a lot of that just because it's a financial thing for us. It's an out-of-state cost. So for us, with our numbers, we feel there's plenty of good players in the Bay Area and in the state of California, where we're going to do the majority of our recruiting in-state, and we feel really confident we can get exactly what we need to have a great football program here.
Coach, in terms of coaching, new offense coordinator Kevin Mcgivern and defensive backs coach Eric Williams, can you talk about the relationship between you with those guys and how you see them kind of contributing to your staff?
Okay, let's start with Coach Williams. He's a guy that I'd gotten to know recruiting Los Angeles over the last few years. He was always there. He seemed to have a great rapport with the recruits. He had a great pulse on the city of Los Angeles. In kind of the high school and the junior college recruiting in that area. I think, anytime you're taking a kid from inner city LA and he's coming to play for you in Moscow, Idaho, or Missoula, Montana, which is where he was coaching, I think that's a hard sell. And so as I look at it, I'm like, this guy's a dynamic recruiter. He was able to, really have a lot of success recruiting out of the area that I was in with him all the time, to both University of Idaho and University of Montana. And then on top of that, his guys played well. If you watch his secondary, they had played well over time, and He's really built up a nice resume as a defensive backs coach, so he's going to be a really great addition for us. Kevin Mcgivern is obviously a guy that I worked with at Oregon State. He was a guy that I tried to get here on the first go-around, and at the time he was busy and couldn't do it. But I think the thing I'm excited about Coach Mcgivern is, even though they struggled at Oregon State last year, they were very, very well, or did very well in the red zone and on third down, which are two areas of emphasis for our football program going into next season. And then on top of that, he's a guy that has called thousands of football plays. He has experience in the Mountain West Conference. He was the quarterback coach of the year when he was coaching this conference. And so he knows the conference, he knows the landscape, and he's recruited California. And he's a very, very knowledgeable football mind. I'm really excited about him being here.
Coach, this event tonight that you have to celebrate the signees, bringing back a lot of alumni, what do you think that emphasis is like, just to have some of the former Spartans here tonight to celebrate with the up-and-coming ones?
Well, I think that's been an emphasis since I came back here. I think it's so important that our former players, our football alumni, feels a connection to the program, and the only way that you make that happen is by extending yourself or the program so that there's points of contact for them. A year ago at the signing day event, 35 former players that were all players here when I coached here before showed up, and we knew like 10 of them were coming. It was awesome. We took this great picture on the stage. It was amazing for me to see all those people. And so since then, we started building up our own database and trying to do a good job of staying in contact with our football alumni. We had a football alumni reunion the night before the spring game a year ago. We had another football alumni reunion before our big scrimmage in fall training camp. And so we've made a lot of effort to reconnect with those people and make sure that they know that we're serious about having a relationship with them. We're serious about them wanting to be involved. And so the fact that so many have engaged and have signed up to come tonight makes me so excited, because it shows me that they want to be a part of it, they believe in what we're doing, and they're excited to be re-engaged with the university. Thank you. Let's go. Hi, buddy.
Thanks very much for joining us today here, February 7th. Those of you who are watching this afternoon, one more reminder that we will have the signing day celebration at the Student Union Ballroom. There still is an opportunity to make a reservation through Tim Rice. That's tim.rice at sjsu.edu, and we'll look forward to being with you next time.